Hi, hello everyone. Shriram here. Thanks, Rahul. Hope things are good. You're able to see me, hear me. It's clear. Okay, you can use a chat window. You have a chat window where you can chat with me. Quick confirmation: you're able to hear and see me, right? If a couple of them can tell yes in the chat window. By the way, good morning and good afternoon for the people here. Thanks for joining on a Saturday post lunch. Today we're going to have something interesting talking about schedule management, which is one of the interesting chapter in PMP and also a complicated chapter. If we are worried about a critical path method, forward pass, backward pass, early start, early finish. I know some of you are really worried about that area. So we will touch certain factors on that. It's purely going to be a revision where you're going to see some of the concepts which we have learned already. Or some of you would be pretty new here. Hey, what is this PMP all about? Let me learn it. Or somebody here to see Saturday Netflix, I'm getting bored. Let me see what kind of show this guy runs here. Let me spend some time, right? So multiple factor of people around here. So we welcome everyone here to be and listen this program. And now today we're going to talk about schedule management. Before going there, few factors to get ourselves on track. If you are preparing for the PMP, this PMP is going to be a very important course, and it is one of the best certificate in the market. When you call it as the best certificate, definitely the level and standard of examination will be high. I don't want you to underestimate. I can blindly go and hit on the wall. Someday the wall will break. If I hit it 2 times, it may break. If I hit 3 times, it may break. End of day, only our head will break. So if you don't try it the right direction, if you don't put the right effort, so our energy and time will go wasted. So we have to plan this project management certification in the right direction and also give the right amount of energy. I know a bunch of you here are our regular candidates who are preparing for the PMP, who done with the course with us. You know that. Some of you are new or not done course with us. So kindly go ahead with the flow of what the way you have to prepare for the examination, a proper study plan, which book to read, what kind of questions to practice. When you practice, some guidance from a known person. So these are things will set you on track. If not, we would have put energy. The outcome will not be the outcome what we want. That's a problem. That too, at the age of 20s, 30s, and 40s. Obviously, that's the age range we get for PMP, 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now, what will happen is you have your family commitment, you have your professional commitment very heavily, right? You should be in the lead, senior lead, project manager, program manager, crucial time in your life. All right, the crucial time will be like you have to spend a good amount of energy at office. At the same time, you have to think for your personal growth, which will be clashing to one another. So if you use 2 hours in a day, that you 2 hours should be a productive 2 hours. How to make it productive is purely on listening to the correct content, reading the right book. Once again, thanks for all joining here. What we did is we're going to have an individual chat if you want to connect with me. If not, probably we'll continue with the subject because this is a course. Project management has a lot of depth of information. However, it is in this 1 hour, we will touch base on some of the key factors which can trigger a certain process in your mind where you can go back and read the books. Or some of you here who read the books. In fact, a chapter will have 100 pages. You would have read dot to dot and you have a lot of questions now. So let me test Shriram whether Shriram has knowledge on this. That kind of people also will be in this group, right? It's a mix of all. What we'll do is let's not go too much deep, let's not go too much high. Let's set a normal range, which is good for your PMP examination. So we'll try to cover some important areas in this examination format and towards knowledge to implement in a day-to-day life. After covering this, end of this program, let's spend from 5 to 10 minutes to address your questions. So if you have some key questions, have the questions with you, and let's take this question when we come to end of the program. That is 55 minutes from now, you will have all your questions can be discussed. So kindly have your questions with you. We'll discuss about it, right? Right, with this, we'll get inside. Once again, thanks all for joining. I can see a good amount of people here. Some of you watching from YouTube, some of you are here. Some of you know me really well. Shriram will wear only this t-shirt today. That kind of people also here who is following me every day or every session. They know what I do, where is my room, how is the training, right? Good. Thanks for your trust for visiting us regularly, and thanks for your trust to learn with us. With this, let's go into the subject. Before going to the subject, one thing I want to tell you about schedule management. Let's give a quick heads up on schedule management. Now, I believe you can see the board. Put it in the speaker view if you want to see the board properly and well. If you're on mobile, set it speaker view. Now, in schedule management doesn't go as one knowledge or one process. It is a collection of things. When you say collection of things, of course, there is a set of requests from the customer. The customer comes with a timeline. The customer comes with a timeline, right? So we call as a triple constraint. We have scope, we have schedule, we have cost. Today we're going to talk about schedule. Schedule does not work individually. It works as a collection. When you say collection, in order to plan your timeline of your project, you have to have multiple factors in mind. For example, a resource can decide your timeline. Some of the risk happening external to the project or internal to the project that can set your timeline, right? Cost available at the market, this can set up some timeline, possible. And you have the procurement, the third party. Procurement. This can decide certain timeline. I'm giving only a few headlines here. If you watch out, even though the customer says, I want in this time, only the customer does not decide. The environment decides. Sometimes we call them as EEF, enterprise environmental factors, that also decides your availability and your delivery timeline. That's how things goes. When these all around us, how do we play within that and how do we make an outcome out of it, right? That's a point. Now what we'll do is we'll see a short video because sometimes videos trigger us to think in the right direction. So I'll show a video about time management. Once this is done, I'll go to the slides to explain some concepts and throw some questions about PMP where we can discuss about it, right? Let's get to the video. Give me a minute. I'm going to bring one video for you. Right. Okay, let's get to the video. Yep, here's the video. If you get an AV, just give me yes in the chat window so that I'll be good to know you're hearing me properly.
Project is bound by time, and time is something that a project manager doesn't want to waste. Time is also the most valuable resource in a project. Without proper time management, a project can race towards disaster. In this section, we'll spend some time discussing project time management. When it comes to project time management, we're not just talking about the length of time of the project. We'll discuss the time a project manager spends on the project and the time spent managing the project team and the stakeholders. Costs always play a vital role in time management. If a project gets off track, schedule overruns can be very expensive. The time management knowledge area includes the processes that make use of the most effective ways to monitor a project's progress. These processes allow a project manager to determine if every task has been or will be completed on time. The time management knowledge area also allows a project manager to control the time spent on parts of the project by developing a logical flow of activities needed to complete the project. Although scheduling is the easiest way of managing project time, and there is a ton of software out there that will help a project manager create and track a schedule, Project time management is much more than a Gantt chart or a calendar. In successful project management, sequences, activities, and durations of the project tasks are estimated and determined based on the resources that will be used for each activity. There are 7 processes in the time management knowledge area. 6 of these are in the planning process group, and 1 is in the monitoring and controlling process group. Let's take a minute to take a high-level look at the time management processes. These processes are plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity resources, estimate activity durations, develop schedule, and control schedule. By using the processes in the time management knowledge area, the project manager can control the amount of time that it takes to build the deliverables of a project and substantially increase the chances of the project's success. So let's not delay or procrastinate.
I know the volume was a little up and down. By now you should have got it. Okay, the idea behind showing this particular video, I know this is a different video where it has a resource also concerning schedule management, which is not a part of schedule management. Ideally, why I want to show this video is for you to get an idea. A resource does not mean only handling the project timeline. It's about the resource factors around that. It's about other environmental factors that make a decision about your timeline. When I say talk about timeline, we have to talk timeline about your predictive approach and adaptive approach. In predictive approach, we know the timeline a little early, so we plan as a long duration, right? That's how we do. As we know the requirement a little better, we can play as a long-term planning. Whereas an adaptive approach, it's going to be a short-term plans. In a sense, you may not have all the details to plan 6 months or 8 months in a stretch. So you plan it only for a couple of iterations. If an iteration goes for 2 weeks, so it's a couple of iterations could be 4 weeks. So ideally, you are planning for 1 month of program. So you mean I may not have other knowledge in my mind? I want to say that way, where you will have the release plan in your mind. A release plan can be of 3 months, could be of a 6 months. But do I have all the granular level details? No. I may have a long-term plan in my mind, but I have a closest to work what need to be completed that is properly planned. This is how they work in adaptive nature, and we call it as agile, we call it as a hybrid model, all happens there. Now what we do is we'll go to the presentation to see some of the key topics under schedule management, which can help you to recall what you learned in the books or what you learned in the classes, right? Let's do that. Good. Let me bring up the slide. Here we go. That's good. Right. I believe you got the screen. Let's start schedule management. Of course, I was writing this concept on the board, talking about triple constraint, the 3 constraints which decides most of the project's movement. There is also a debate in the market. If it is an adaptive nature, it will be inverted in the sense you will have time and cost are finalized or frozen, and requirement can be variable. That's how they talk about it. Anyway, we will not go too deep inside that, but let's understand that there are few constraints which decides your project whether to move forward or halt there. Now, schedule is one of such constraints. Whenever you say constraint, this can generally help to move forward, or sometimes it can be a blocker not allowing to move forward. How do you handle it effectively is project management. When you know the methodology of handling, when you know the interpersonal skills of taking certain things forward, which helps you to move forward. Also, sometimes there is an assumption, if I know how to use all the technical tools, I can become a great manager. But you would have witnessed in the corporate world, there are well educated failure managers around. This person knows in and out of any technology available. This person has an amazing communication skills, but still they fail. You'll be surprised. Why? This person knows MS Project, Jira board, or any graph system. This guy is so good. This guy's language is amazingly great. But the intrinsic part about interpersonal skills, the spinal cord of the important thing about leadership or management, if that is slightly going down, having these two skills can also put you down. So it's a combination of all. Only interpersonal skills will make them to grow? No, it may not. So you should have a knowledge combination of skills, technology with interpersonal skills and people orientation. That's going to grow higher. So let's see some more factors about schedule. This picture I would have shared in some of the programs where you have seen it. Why I have to share is a manager plays multiple role. A leadership plays multiple role. You have multiple emotions going behind, right? So keeping that aside, if you see the bottom, you have to plan and you have to manage and you have to engage the people and you have to engage the key stakeholders in your project. So that's going to happen here. This is a place where you spend a good amount of time and also coordinate the work and maintain the momentum. Most of the places you're going to have all your resources being used. It could be a human, it could be material, it could be equipment, risk management, and vendor management, third party. Right? If your vendor is going to delay your work, it's obviously going to delay your overall project. Right? It's not only you being good. You should know whom to choose, and you have to make them to deliver on time. It's very important. Now, this page is from your PMBOK book, which talks about the trending and emerging factors. This is one interesting stuff in every PMP PMBOK book, where every chapter will have at least 2 pages or 3 pages talking about the trending factors, where they generally touch base on agility. They touch base on adaptive nature of project model. There is some belief in the market, PMP means old. Okay. Unfortunately, the people who will say that either not read anything about the concept or failed the exam at least once, right? If somebody doesn't work out, you will tell that's bad. If somebody cannot learn a new language, you will tell that language is bad, right? The same thing happens. I commonly hear this. They tell that PMP is old. Don't do that. When you ask them, have you read the books? Have you know that at least see the PMBOK cover? No, I have not seen it. First understand and read it, and then you comment on it. Somebody tell waterfall is bad. Do you know more than 90% of the projects are still working in waterfall model? It's the most efficient model in the world. Yes, it is. Right? People don't read it and they start commenting on it. Right? Agile is an amazing concept, but it takes some time. People have to digest it. That model will take some more time. Coming back on this concept, these 2 pages talks about agility. In this agility, they talk about how you make a short plans in an iterative way so that you can reach market early. So as I said earlier, we may not plan at a full stretch. We'll make a short plan and move. For that, we have certain interesting concepts like a Scrum is one of that methodology. Kanban, which is there for long term from Toyota. From Toyota, Taichi Hono is the innovator of this concept, where he came out with the Kanban model, which he called as a signboard, where you can show a flow of what work is happening. And these are the trending factors. You can't call it trending because it is there from 1940 Kanban system, and Scrum is there from 1983. So you can't call it trending. These are pretty old than you and me. But still, now market is looking how can I mix few more methodologies so that my work will get completed on time. See, when you sit in a CEO seat, you will not worry are you using Scrum or are you using Waterfall or are you using Kanban. For me, results should be there. So what combination you use is up to you. Give me the results. That's what they look into, right? Nobody says that today morning I pray to the God, hereafter I'll use only Kanban. Hereafter I'll use only Waterfall. I have promised to the God. Nobody says that way. They say that which is the best method, use it. So market is looking for a hybrid model. Now, why this point to you is when you go to the job market, when you go to a leadership role, you should be able to talk multiple ways of implementation, adaptive and predictive, for which you have to learn both the concepts of predictive nature and the concepts of adaptive nature, which we call the agile model. When you learn that, you can bring a hybrid model, which is highly expected, right? Let's go a little more. Mm, Yep. There is a question. Let's see how much you are able to catch up. Some of you would have seen this question before, but let's see how much your brain is processing this question. This is from the perspective of a PMI, PMBOK. You can answer in the chat window. Let me see your chat window, what's the answers coming up. Okay. Okay, I'm started getting a answer as B, activity list. If you have read the books of PMI, PMP, and you could understand that you are decomposed to work packages. Work packages for the list of work or bunch of work which need to be completed under the WBS into activities, and your client needs duration. They're asking for you to share some duration of each activity. Now they're asking which of the following will you use to find it. If I want to find the duration of an activity, what I will do? I will go for an activity list, right? Surprisingly, I'm seeing less answers here. Either you did not read the book or you may not know how to use chat window in Zoom. So there is a chat window on the right side. You can select it and use it so that you can participate in the quiz, which will show some knowledge growth for you, right? Only when you start answering, you'll get more idea. Now, point is WBS. In WBS, the last stage is work package. In schedule management, we take a work package and divide it into pieces, and that's called activities. And those are the activities comes under the activity list. In any work, we have a granular level work to be done. The granular level work could be a activity or further down could be a task which make it happen. Right? That's how it works. Let's go a little more on this subject. Here we go. So what we do is there is something called define the activities. What it means is in the previous processes or somewhere in PMP, we have a place called create WBS where a work breakdown structure has been created. When the work breakdown structure is there, and now it is time to decompose it further. It means make into further small pieces where we can make certain estimations. What all we can make. When you make a small piece from a package into activity, you get an opportunity to make a calculation about the resource needed for that activity and the timeline for that activity, cost involved for that activity, some of the risk involved for the activity can be calculated. So the define activity is a process of taking a package, dividing into piece. When I say piece, a logical way of dividing. Now the question is, how can I do logical way? Either you should be a domain expert or you should be part of the team. Now, a domain expert and a part of the team join together, they do a proper discussion. If you come from the adaptive nature of model project, where we call as a backlog refinement, or we call as backlog grooming, where you take a part of set of features and make into user stories. If you come a traditional model of project, we still use the same model called WPS, in which we have a work package. And we take a package and the team will discuss. You can see the picture here, they have a sticky notes. I may give one package to the team and ask them, can you make this into further pieces? So now they start doing that as an activities. So activities can be done primarily by the team. In fact, it should be done by the team so that the buying or mindset will be so collaborative from the team. If you've done by the managerial level, chances are the buy-in will be very less. Okay, let's take one more question to see our thought process. Okay, answer starts coming up. Good to see your answers. Okay, in the question, what is one thing which you feel that, which makes you think that this is not right? There is one particular word which may not feel, okay, this is not the right thing. We would have learned this in our classes when you are with me in the PAP classes. There is a term called pad. Okay, the first line or first sentence you have, pad their estimates. So what is the other term we use in the market for pad? Did we call it as a buffer? Yeah, we have some extra time. See, the buffering is a concept. It's not new. It's there for so many decades and centuries. When somebody says something, we try to add some more, right? Usually, human has this tendency. You see a bike accident on the roadside, two bikes to hit each other. When you come to office, you tell to your friend, you know, I saw an accident there. And you see the interest in your friend's eyes. This guy opened the eyes wide open, asked, hey, what happened? Actually, two bikes hit and four bikes fell down. Lot of blood, lot of police around there. Big scene there, man. I don't think today traffic will get clear. You won't go home. Actually, only two bikes were hit. People have this tendency of adding more. It's very common. Okay, it's a human psychology that when somebody is interested to listen something, other person tend to add, right? Good or bad, that's a different story. Now, coming back here on the work wise, when the work comes in, people generally have a tendency of their past experience. Something happened in their life, they will add that in the work what they have to do. If you ask second question, why do you add that extra cost? Why do you add that extra time? They may not have a justification. They may tell that I felt so. When you ask why you felt so, something like this happened to me. Maybe right, maybe wrong. We cannot discount it. But at the same time, we should discuss about it, right? That's a very important part. So when you say buffering, it is not a good idea to do as per PMI then buffer. What is the best way to handle it? Estimate the activities honestly and then use a contingency reserve. If you have listened to the risk management classes, there is something called contingency reserve where we talk about how much you're going to allocate fund and time for something which is an estimated risk. A risk which is calculated is going to have a contingency reserve. Right? We know that this is going to happen, for which what you prepared for it. There could be a power supply problem. So what is a contingency reserve for it? You have a genset ready. You have a UPS or system ready there, which is going to support you when a system goes down. So that's a contingency reserve for which I have to allocate some time, some money, some people for it, right? Certain things action will happen immediately. Certain things action will happen only when the risk trigger happens, right? Like what you have an umbrella with you when the rain may happen. When you feel a symptom of rain, you may pick up your umbrella, a trigger of a risk incident where you get ready for action item. Yeah, this happens. That's a good thing. We understood some factor here. Let's move a little more. Sorry. Okay, this game I would have done early. Just want to get your thought again. If you see here, let us consider food as a work package, invitation as a work package, and bridal as a work package. Quickly, let us see how our brain can capture certain things under this package as an activity. Right, let's start with the bridal. Tell me what all can happen for a bridal as an activity. Let me see how fast your brain will catch up. You can see list of items at the bottom. You can tell me for the bridal what you'll do. Invitation food is there. For the bridal, what all can be an activity? Tailoring. Okay. So somebody says arrange the tailoring and fitting. This is bridal. And somebody says shop the dress. Interesting. And then what? Shop the shoes and shop the dress. Okay. Invitation. Do you think invitation will be bridal? Hmm. Somebody says invitation can be bridal. No, I don't think so, right? It won't be bridal. Okay, if you have doubt in that, let's park it and go to the next package. Probably you'll use it. Choose banquet. Okay, this is going to be bridal. Is it so? Okay, let me go a little more and come back. Invitation. For invitation, tell me what all can come. Invitation, I will tell mail the invitation. Could be mail the invitation. Could be, yeah. And then create the guest list. Okay, this could be. And then print the invitation. Could be. Yeah, what else? Wait for our CP. Okay. Then what? Almost pretty good. Okay. Let me move to the next one. Food. Under food, what all you have? Find the caterer. Right. Menu. Right. And then cater the wedding. Okay. Okay, pretty good. Choose banquet comes where? It should be bridal, it should be invitation or food, where it will go. Planning, bridal, uh-huh. It goes to bridal. Mhm. Okay, right. I know this may not be totally relevant to you. You're not to this process. Maybe you got married 10 years back. You don't even remember what happened. It's okay. Just to make a thought process, how can you think to put into pieces, right? Now you have to take some work which at your office and see how can you make it into pieces. That's very important. These are the examples which can be very common, who anybody can understand. For example, if you go Monday back to work, see how this work has come to your team, how this would have been started. You have to back trace the work. I see many engineers these days that come to project and office work. They say that, Shriram, why don't you give me a fresh new project from the ground? I will start. It's good to get. If you get it, fine. But if you get already a project running, join there. It's a very good time to learn some things when your project is already running. You can start backtracking from where the SOW came in. Start tracking how the project charter got ready. Start tracking how the requirement traceability is happening, right? So if you start doing all this research on your project, what you do, more than enough to clear any exam in the world of project management. Problem is, people only read it. When they go back to the office, they become the same zombie. The zombie person who goes to office every day last 20 years. The same person goes to office. Whereas when the book comes in, they read very crazy because they want to get a next job with a 25% salary hike, right? If you start reading in that format, rather read it and start connecting with the job, what you do, your learning will be so fast. Then you won't tell that I cannot memorize it, right? That won't happen. Okay, good. Let's go to the next area. Thanks for the answers in the chat window. Sequencing the activities. Now you found that a package is a big piece of work where you put into further smaller pieces that becomes an activity. Now activity should be sequenced. The sequences we call as a logical sequence. There should be logical order of doing certain things. For example, when I started this session, I want to say you all thanks for joining. I say good afternoon, good evening, and I give a little brush up on the board, and then I have started. This could be a logical sequence of what I have in my mind to do. Sometimes I'll go forward, sometimes I stop certain things. So there is a logical sequence of doing this program. How do you do that? And this is dependent on certain factors, right? Certain things to finish, certain thing has to start. We sometimes call it as a dependencies, and also sometimes we call it as those are the factors which decides your project's movement, right? So sequencing activities is something which is called logical sequencing, which is set your project on track. When I say track, I was talking about these dependencies. I'm sure some of you would read it when you're reading for the books for the examination. You would have seen mandatory, you would have seen discretionary, internal, external dependencies. Most of the time, dependencies decide your movement. Am I going in the right direction or not? Dependency will tell you. And dependency sometimes delay it, sometimes it forwards it. So how good you handle the dependency is what your management. When I say dependency, it can even be third party. Imagine with the vendor, you have a dependency. Now you cannot straight away tell that, okay, I will do it. It will depend on the vendor delivery timeline, which can impact your project. Let's talk about leads and lag. When I talk about this as sequencing, there is something called leads and lags, which decides your project's delivery timeline also, right? How it works. When I say leads and lags, let me quickly put something like this. Let's say there is an activity. Okay, I hope you see the screen. There is an activity here, and this activity can be called as A. And there is an activity which can be called as B. Very good. So I think that I was doing an estimation sometime with my team. I understood this activity will take 3 days to complete, right? Now, there is a logical connection here. We call it as a finish to start, FS. When A finishes, yes, B will start, as a finish to start. Now, it is supposed to start on the fourth day, right? This is how it has to be. This is a plan. Now, let's talk about a little about leads and plans. Let me talk about the lead. Now, now there is a plan that I want to be The B can be lead. B can take a lead. How the B can take a lead? What will happen is if I ask to reduce 1 minus 1, it means it could be instead of fourth day, it will become what? If a minus 1, what will it become? It will be fourth day. From there, what number will be here? Can somebody make a guess? It can become 3. So instead of starting third day, after that on the fourth day, both activity will be parallel for some time and then B will proceed on. Now when this both become a parallel for some time, that's going to be a lead. In lead, we use a minus value where we try to make one activity lead the effort of other activity, sometimes overlapping. This will happen. There could be situation in a project where we don't need to wait, where we can utilize another activity to overlap to one other activity so that we can complete the work on time or a bit early if there is an opportunity, right? If lead is something you come a little forward or a little close to do as a parallel, the opposite of that is going to be a lag. So what lag will do? When you say lag, you're going to add some numbers here, right? If I say I minus 1, now what I'll do? I'll add probably some number. After third day, B should supposed to start by fourth day. But what happened is there is a dependency where I have to wait for 2 more days. Now, after 3, it should have started on 4. Now, it will become 5. Is it? So, lag is something could be wait time or some delay time due to various reasons. Could be mandatory, could be discretionary dependency. So, it makes you to wait for some time. So leads and lags are used based on the necessity in a project and also the dependency which is happening, external and internal, also mandatory and discretionary. And this plays between the activities of any process, finish to start, start to finish, it goes in any form. Our point is lead will be minus 1. I'm just giving an example. It can be lag can be plus 2 or plus 1 so that you will lag your time a little more, right? So this we do in the logical network diagram. Okay, well, good. You got some more idea today about logical network. Let's see a few more factors as I go because I'm going to show you something called critical path method, right? Let's take a question to get some more idea. So what is the keyword in the question make you to think and answer? In PMI PMP examination, keywords are very important. It's not only reading the question. When you read the question, your mind and eyes should catch up what actually a keyword is triggering this question. Right? If you catch up that, that will be easy. Now, recent days, I'm hearing most of the PMP exam questions are only 2 lines. There were days it used to be 5 lines, 8 lines, so big. Now they reduced it and they're having only 2 lines. So don't underestimate it is 2 lines. It can be trouble also because within the 2 line, you have to understand the concept. If not, you're in trouble, right? So now I'm looking at the keyword. Your company has previously run other projects similar to the one you are currently managing. What is the best way to use the information? They're asking what's the best way to use that information, right? So if that's the case, what to do? Let me go from the bottom. Sometimes they ask to read the answers from the bottom so that you don't miss any of the answers. Reuse the project management plan of the past project. They're asking how to use this information. But here what it says is a reuse. Reuse is not a right choice. You don't want to reuse some other's plan. Start from the scratch because you don't want mistakes from the past project. Nobody said it's a mistake. Right? You learn something out of the project. So it's always a good idea to use other project knowledge. Strike out. So 2 is gone. Only 2 is closer to that. Use parametric estimation to estimate your project based on past projects performance. You're not going to use a parametric now because that's not the ask here, right? Projects similar to the one you're currently using now. Let's park this answer. Let's go here. Check the organization process assets for lessons learned or other information about the past project. Now, what's the question is, there is a similar project and what's the best way to use the information? When they say best way, chances are you may touch base with something called OPA, right? You have something called OPA. OPA stands for Organizational Process as such. This is the one. And this is a place where you have the repository of all the lessons learned. So what is the best way? The best way is take these lessons learned, which can be useful for your project, not for parametric calculation, not for reusing the plans, right? That's a message. Good. I can see the chat window. Many of you put your keywords. That's so important. So start watching the keyword when you prepare for the examination because exam questions are having only 2 lines. Okay, let's talk a little bit about estimation. When you say estimation in PMI, good thing is they use the same method again and again. If you go to cost management, same method, schedule, same method, resource, same method, almost. Now, out of that, we have 4 methods of estimation here. One is analogous, parametric, 3-point, and bottom up. So analogous talks about historical record, just reuse it. Parametric talks about historical plus parameter of the current project what you have, some database information. And parametric talks about the formula per calculation, where you use a formula to make a calculation for each activity or each package. And also you talk about bottom-up estimation, where from the bottom, it will be like accumulating the overall value. And these 4 are very common and very famous. Definitely there will be a lot of questions on this 4 model. And specifically on the PERT, you will get a question talking how to use a formula. I'm sure some of you in the classes would have observed it. Some of you did a workshop with us. You would have used this as an assignment on a daily basis. If not done, this is one of the interesting formula which will be part of the exam question. Talks about how to do an estimation using 3-point estimation. Now, if it's a 3-point, they use the 3 parameters, which is called as optimistic, pessimistic, most likely. Optimistic, always think the best will happen. The pessimistic goes the other side, may not happen. And there is something called most likely. So OMP divided by 3, it's a 3-point estimation and triangle distribution. And there is one more formula called beta distribution, the second line. They add a 4. The weightage is very high, 4 times weightage for most likely. So O plus 4 into M pound, M plus P divided by 6. And definitely there'll be some questions in examination. Please practice this area. I believe you remember it as you listen with me in the classes. Well, good. Good progress. You are recalling some of your knowledge. Happy to know. Let's take one more question. I know the answers aren't there. If you look at this question, you're managing a software project when your customer informs you that a schedule change is necessary. Control customer is informing you. Customer could be a sponsor or core engineer there. Now they're asking what is the best way thing to do. Okay, let's see what are the answers which went wrong here. D says refuse to make changes. See, we are doing a project management. We are not against any changes. We have to encourage changes. So refusing the change may not be the right choice at any time. So we have to say no for it. C, influence the factors that cause the changes. Look at here, you're going to influence the factors. It's something like killing the people who give something good for it, right? So it should be part of it. You can't influence it. So C and D looks totally unethical. So you have to stop that. Let's go to B. Notify the team and the sponsor that they are going to be a schedule change. Now, this is an answer you will get confused in examination. And examination, 2, you will straight away cut short, whereas 2 will get stuck. If you look at C and D, straight away cut short, whereas A and B looks pretty close. Let's take A now. Construct the schedule management plan. Now, B says notify the team and the sponsor that there is going to be a schedule change, right? Now, let's go back to the question. You are managing a software project when your customer informs you that schedule change is necessary. The person is informing necessary. That's it. Doesn't ask to do any change, nothing. Asking to, telling that there is a necessity is there. What is the best thing to do? You say that consult the schedule management plan. You're going to see out the plan. Let's see the justification, what they say. A schedule management plan tells you how changes to the schedule are to be handled. I believe if somebody read the PEMBOK or read RETA head first, you observed that whenever you write a plan, you write a plan how the changes to the schedule to be handled. In the sense, there is something called monitoring and controlling. Monitoring control is one of the area of project management where we take a look. If something comes like this, what can happen? We call as a control schedule to balance it accordingly, right? So this will be written in the schedule management plan. The plans are written to handle the way how we are going to estimate it, the way how we are going to execute it, the way how we are going to monitor it. All three will be the plan. Now you can question me, hey, my project is so small. Do I really need to write the plan? If it's a so pretty small project, then they don't write a specific plan because a company themselves will have a standard plan with them. They will just reuse it because we don't want to reinvent or put a time there. Rather, we will use what our organization has. But imagine the project about a dam construction or a bridge construction or a massive software development for a banking system. Now I need a plan in place. Why? I may have more than 5, 10, 15 managers. I may have more than 100 people working on the system. I may have a new CEO coming in. So how do you tackle all those stuff? For that, we need a plan in place, right? That's the reason to write a plan. Well, good. You are improving. You are learning some factors. Let's go a little more. Let's talk a very important part called as critical path. I believe some of you were in my classes last week. You would have learned it well. So this will recall, and some of you get to catch up this concept. See, critical path is something a statement given here. The longest duration to path through the network diagram. In network diagram, the longest duration, and it determines the shortest time it could take to complete. It could take to complete the longest and it will take to complete. If you watch it here, I will tell 1, 2, and this is one path which is of 3 days of time. And there is one path here, 1 day of time, and here 1 plus 2 plus 1. That becomes 4. It's another path in this diagram. Let's assume this is a whole project. If this whole is a project, I will tell this project will be get completed by fourth day because I cannot ignore these activities to complete this project. And these are the activities very important to be completed so that I can conclude that the project is being completed. Now, the longest duration path through the network diagram, if it's a whole network diagram, in this, the longest path will be considered as a critical path. And also that will be the shortest time to complete the work. Because if I take one more day extra with this, it will become a fifth day. But actually, with my customer, I would have agreed I'll be hand over the project by fourth day evening. So if I add one more day, it may become a problem or it can be a time slip, right? Whereas we have two more paths here. One path is completed in 1 day, other path is completed in 3 days. Even if I delay one more day here, still my project time will not get delayed. I can complete this work in 4 days of timeline, right? However, what will happen is we'll get two critical paths. In a project, you can have more than one critical path. There's nothing wrong. But the more the critical path, the more the pressure is. Why? In a critical path, the float, the slack time will be zero. In a sense, in this path, none of the activity has a benefit of taking a slack, float, or time of leisure time. It's everything will be zero here. So everyone has to deliver on the date, on the time given. If you delay even 1 day or a half a day, I cannot deliver my work on fourth day. Rather, it gets further delayed. Whereas anybody in this path can take at least 1 day of a break or a waiting time. Why? Because even you delay that, it will not delay the project overall time, right? So critical path is one interesting area which we have to learn. In a project, there could be more than one path, and in that, either of one path will be a critical path, or more than one path can be a critical path. I know we spoke about this. I think you got some idea what is critical path. Let's see some calculations also. I know slightly it's a crazy area. This example I should have given to someone talking about how a person decides. Let's imagine there is a particular area where there is an expectation from this old man to construct few buildings here. And if it's few buildings here, I used to give an example telling that, let's say this building takes 3 days to complete, and sorry, 3 months to complete. This takes 7 months to complete, and this takes 4 months to complete. When I ask you the overall project, let's imagine this overall one project, when actually this project will be completed. Can I tell it 7 plus 3 plus 4? Can I tell 14 as a timeline? Or do I need to tell 7 as a timeline? Which one is the right answer if I want to tell this project's overall completion timeline? Can somebody answer me in the chat window? Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing your chat window. Sounds good. Most of you got the right choice here. You are telling me that 7 days is a time when the project will be completed. So the immediately question will come up, then what will happen to these two? What will happen is it will be a parallel activity, right? So when the 7 days of work happening, let's say this is on the day one, day one, day one, day one, and this guy will go to day two, day two, day two, and this guy will go to day three, day three, day three. It's over, done. So not nothing here. I will go day four, day four. It's done. It will go day five, day six, day seven, right? So parallelly, I would have done it. Either I can do this way, or first 3 days I will not do anything. I'll wait for this act building, and fourth day I will start here. For this particular, it may be day one, day two, day three. Possibly, right? It's purely about the management style. How do you want to use it? I may reuse some of the resource from this building to that building. Yeah, this is how the contractors play the role. The contractors, masons, whom you see in a city, they have bunch of resource with them, human resource and material. They start shifting from here and there. The same architect who was designing for building A will do for building B after 4 days of time, whereas that guy will be busy mapping here and there. The same we do on a project. We have multiple tracks running, but we know some track are very vital track. Some are can take a back seat. We can do a little later. For your PNP examination, attending today's class may be in your critical path, maybe, or maybe non-critical path. You would think that by September 10, 12, 15, I want to clear the examination. I'm preparing very hard. Let me go and listen to this class. Could be one of the activity to spend 1 hour, right? If not, you will not spend this 1 hour, rather you will be reading the books. So you decide which one is the critical path to complete your project, right? Hope that makes some sense. Let's go a little more. Yeah, here we go. Now it's a small exercise. Some of you have done it before. Let me see if you can recall it. What we'll do here is I want you to find out how many parts in this project. Just tell me how many parts in this project. How to calculate a path? The path will be calculated like this. A, it will have B, it will have C. That's it. The next one is A, it will have B, it will have C. Like this, tell me how many parts you have here. Please work out and tell me. Take a paper and pencil next to you. Quickly write down. Don't jump just by looking at the screen. You may not get it. Yeah. I know some of you putting a chat window itself. That's also good. Try it out. Okay. I'm hearing some of you telling me 5 parts. Are you sure? Can you please recheck it once more? If you check once more, you may get 6 parts are there. 6 parts. Somewhere you would have missed it here. You would have missed ADG, or sorry, EDG, EDC, EFG. Somewhere you would have missed it. All right. So you have at least here 1, 2, 3, right? It goes multiple. Yeah, 1, 2, it goes up. Got it? Okay, well, good. So you should have got the 6 parts there. In the 6 parts, you should count the number now. If for A, there is a 6, it's a 6 days it take to complete. B can take 3 days to complete. C can take 4 days to complete. So it comes to around 13 as a number. Now, if you put the numbers for all your paths, tell me which has the longest number or highest number. Please check and tell me what's the highest number you get there. Okay. Okay, most of you getting the answer as E, D, C. If you get this as a number, it will be E, D, and C, which is going to be 8 plus 2 plus 4, which is going to be 14. So 14 can be your critical path because there's the highest number there, right? Why there should be critical path? It's because other activities they have a different timeline, whereas this path it is a 14 days or 14 months. Now, if I delay any one day, half a day here, it will delay my overall timeline. So if I'm telling 14 is my critical path timeline, I would have conveyed it to my sponsor or a stakeholder, 14th day evening, I will complete this work. Now, in case 8 becomes 8 plus 1, it won't be 14. It will become 14 plus 1. It can turn into 15, which is going to give you a bad reputation. Whereas other paths, let's take the example of 6 plus 3 plus 4, it's going to be 13. 13 is the path here. Even if I delay one day here, plus 1, it will be 14. Still, I'm within the timeline. If it becomes 2, maybe imagine this becomes one more day added, it becomes 15. If it is a 15, and this path will turn into critical path, and EDC will turn into non-critical path, right? So that's a message here. If somebody would have learned critical path, would have got a clue that critical path is the path as the longest duration in the network diagram, and also he understood how many paths and how to calculate here. This is to give a clue of how to calculate, right? Good attempt. Made a good job today. Some of you getting knowledge back again. Quickly, some calculation. I'm not going to go so deep inside. I just want to give a heads up because this can help you. In every activity, we have a center point which is called as duration. Duration can be of 10 days, 10 months, 10 weeks. How do you calculate this duration? This you should have calculated using analogous method or parametric method or three-point method or bottom-up estimation. Some form you would have calculated, right? And we have something called early start, early finish, late start, late finish. Whatever you calculated as a critical path, they use a method here with a formula to calculate it. For example, the day one, the activity started, and day 10, the activity ends because it has a 10 days of timeline. If a 10th day it ends, it starts on 11th day. If it is 11th day, it becomes 30th day. How I got this 30th day? If you have that question, there is a formula here how to calculate early start, how to calculate early finish, right? And let me not go too much deep here. Probably you'll get a little scared if you've not learned this before. If you've learned this before, you know this formula, which help you to find out the calculation of how one activity, another activity to play between early start, early finish, late start, late finish. So you make a forward pass. So it becomes 30, becomes 31 here, and further it goes on, right? So now it helps you to calculate the number and find the critical path called as 49. Now 49 could be the critical path in this project. By the way, it's just an example here. It does not having multiple paths. It's having only one path. So pretty tough to see other paths also. Let's imagine this is one of the critical paths here, and it has a 49 days of completion. The next path can be 42. The next can be 33. But the 49 will be the critical path. When it is a critical path, its float and slack will be 0. If you have more queries, I would expect you to read what is slack, what is float. There is a total float, free float. Just read it. It is nothing but the time which can be taken to delay the work or can be some relaxation time that happens. Now, in critical path, interesting factor is about understanding the number of paths, understanding the length of the network diagram, and also understanding what are the next non-critical paths available. Now, using the formula of early start, early finish, late start, late finish, you will be in a position to calculate the critical path and also calculate the slack and flow time when you do a backward pass. Right? That's what happens. This calculation may take at least 20-25 minutes if you try for the first time. Little time, if you put effort, you will definitely learn it. It's not so hard. And there is also a debate in the market talking, can I go with this activity on day one or I should go with the day zero? Most of the PMP books and related exam questions starts with the day one. So better to start your project on day one. Also, there is a debate in the market. Can we go with day zero? This also works. If you go to day zero, the formula will be slightly different, where there won't be -1 and +1. Whereas if you go with the day one, you will have this formula +1 and -1, right? That's a little bit on the forward pass and backward pass. Yep, good. Some other factors also there to understand the time management or schedule management. We call it as a compression techniques. And the compression techniques helps you to keep things in control, right? What happened is we spoke about the timeline. We spoke about the 14 days or 15 days of critical path. Now there will be a situation where you have to do some kind of compression called as crashing. How to complete the work faster? How to do? You do crashing. Crashing means adding more resources. Could be material, could be equipment, could be people. When you add more resource, chances are work gets over faster, but also it may bring some extra cost, isn't it? You want to add more people, definitely it'll add more cost on some places. And also it may bring some new risk to the project as you add more people and material. That's one part of it. There's something called fast tracking. If you watch a picture here, instead of going in a sequential way, we may go in a parallel way, right? Fast tracking. The fast tracking at times works because if everything is fine, but there is a dependency and you try to put in a parallel way. A depend on a B, but you put the parallel, there could be some wrong, a problem can happen, right? Only when the wall get dry, you have to start the painting. But you can see some places before the wall get dry, you start painting. Within 1 week, it all come out. Ideal example is the road laying work. You can see the road laying work, how they do it. If there is a seasoning time is there, then you have to level it. Then you have to give some dry time, put some water, and then level it, dry it. Some people, some area they do that, some area they don't do it. They just complete all in a parallel way. All fails. Extra cost runs there. Risk gets higher there, right? But still, we use it. Being a leader or being a manager, you are responsible to take action here to utilize this knowledge in your projects. Well, good. That's a question. Try it out. Let everybody give a choice here. Um, Let me see what's your thought process. Right or wrong? Give a try. Okay. I'm getting different answers. A, B, and C. All three are coming. Let me see everyone's choice. Give a try. See, you are explaining to someone what is crashing and what is fast tracking. Crashing adds more resources. When you add more resources, obvious choices are cost may go high. If you keep that in mind, probably you may catch up a better answer. Hmm. Yep. Look at the C option where they talk about crashing the project outskirts. More costs go high. But there is a question here. Why should I always go for adding human, which is going to be cost higher? Rather, I can utilize a resource, a human resource, which is in a non-critical path. I can take some of the people in non-critical path and put them into critical path. Chances are I may save some money. But you have to be very careful here. When they say resource, it is not only human. It can be material, it can be equipment, or it can be third party coming inside, right? Vendor system. So cost can go high, could be one of the example to understand about the crashing. Fast tracking has to do parallel. Chances are they may bring up some risk factors also, right? So that's a point I'm trying to explain here with the crashing and fast tracking. Good attempt. You made a good job. Let's go a little more. People coming from an adaptive nature or agile project management, there is some thought about agile release planning. Some of you would be already doing it. I know it's not new for you, but some of you don't know what it is. I don't think you have to worry about much about it. Here we talk about release. A release could be every 3 months, something we give a major release to the market. This is very common in every industry. But in a knowledge-based or IT industry, there are chances I don't need to wait for every 3 months. 3 months I can call as a milestone or a major release, but I can give a lot of minor releases to the market. We call it as an iteration. An iteration can be 2 weeks of timeline, another 2 weeks of timeline, another 2 weeks of timeline. So every 2 weeks, I will give something shippable, something usable, a small piece of work, which can go to the market and give some answers to the customer. It could be a software application or it could be anything on the knowledge base. Let's take an example of software application. Every 2 weeks, you will find some new functionality being added, which you can use it, which you don't see last week. As people use it, people give feedback. Either they write us a feedback explicitly or implicitly, right? They try something, it doesn't work out, it's a feedback. So it comes to your system and you improve yourself. Now, 3 months could be a timeline, or 4 months could be a timeline where some releases are planned. For these releases, we have iterations being planned out. For these iterations, in an iteration, what all to be delivered is could be a user story, could be of a task, could be a features which start coming out. Now, this page is also from your Dunbar book, which talks about how release planning works. But if any questions in examination, it was there till June month, good amount of agile questions. Last 1.5 2 months, all the agile questions was removed. And now without agile questions, PMP exams are happening because from January to 2021, we are going to get 50% of adaptive nature questions. Lot going to come. By that time, these pages will be used. If anybody thinking I'll write exam after June and January, yes, you can, but more amount of adaptive nature questions will come, right? For now, this is not part of your exam, but understand release planning is part of doing a schedule plan for your agile projects. Very good. That's pretty good. Right. We learned certain factors about how a schedule happens from WBS, packages, activities. We learned how to sequence it in order. We also learned a little bit about the critical path method, some of the sequencing methodology, and also we understood something about forward pass, backward pass. Right, this is something I understood. And we understand something called control the schedule. Now, control is something. It's not just like that telling that no, don't go beyond this. Rather, forecasting. When you come to control schedule, you start forecasting. What do you mean by forecasting? You will see how much of work has been completed against how much of work to be completed. So completed, to be completed. When you start doing the variance there, you will start seeing a forecast. I'm supposed to complete here, but I'm here, either forward or backward, ahead of schedule, behind schedule. When you know this proportion, you can draft a forecast. Either I may complete on time or I shoot something extra. And this happens in a control schedule. A control schedule and control cost work in a parallel way. There is something called cost management where we have a control cost. There we use a calculation called EVM, earned value management. In earned value management, we make a calculation, something called SPI. SPI stands for Schedule Performance Index, where you see, am I within the time or over the time? Based on that, we make a forecasting. Why we have to do forecasting in project? See, the project is not all about you write a plan and just blindly follow a plan. That's not the case. You will write the plan and keep evaluating the plan, upgrade your plan. Based on the customer's expectations, you have to change your plan so that you deliver value at the time needed, for which you should be in the right position to make forecasting, for which you need something called control schedule. So what you do in control schedule is sometimes you go for the data, the work performance data and work performance information. People reading with the PMBOK or PMI books or Rita or Headfirst, you would have seen certain terms called as WPD, that is work performance data, which talks about actual work which is happening in the project. And we have something called work performance information, which talks about how this data compared and it's matured and becomes information. And with the data and information, you can make some calculations of forecasting. That forecasting can bring you some change request. The way how we do can be upgraded, right? That happens there. So now what happened is you made a plan and you executed it, and you also keep watch what all I have to upgrade myself so that I can go on the right time. So this happens in schedule management. Right, I think we touched a few key points. I believe you got it. Hope it was a good one. I know it's in 1 hour. We have touched little factors about schedule. In fact, certain factors we went a little deep. Some factors we touched in a high level. This is to have brush-up class for the people who are preparing for the examination to understand these are the terminologies which exist in the book and exist in the PMP examination, where you have to go a little deep and read. There are a lot of content, but if you brush up these content, it's going to be primarily helpful for your examination, right? Good. Okay, let me hold for a few minutes. If any questions, I can help out. By the way, thanks for all participating and listening to the session. Let's, yeah. Any questions I can help out? Okay, looking at chat window. Okay, one of the question is, what is critical chain? How do we use it? Critical chain as a critical path, they don't consider having some extra time to handle. There the slack is zero, the float is zero, where we have to complete this timeline. In the critical chain method, there'll be one particular activity specifically allocated to have some time to handle it. We call it sometimes as a buffer, or sometimes we call it as a calculated time to handle if there is a resource which is not available. In critical path, it is assumed that all the resource will be available, right? In critical chain, there is an assumption that resource will be available. There could be some resource constraint for which they add those extra time. But generally, critical path is the best way to design what is a timeline without having any wastage of non-availability of resources, right? So that's a point. Okay, when is this putting, should we take approval of contingency reserve? I don't think the word approval should be used here because it's a mutual agreement, right? When you declare a cost baseline with the customer, the cost baseline includes the contingency reserve. So we both mutually agreed that when a situation happens like this, we will use this particular reserve. So I don't think we have to go back and ask them, can I use it? Right? It's part of the system. So I should be able to use it. If a new risk comes in, then we have to think something. If a risk is planned, then both agree, right? That's a point. Well, good. Great, great, great. Good to see you all participating today. And I know most of you are preparing for your examination, or some of you yet to kickstart the PMP program. Some of you will see, oh my goodness, a lot of stuff here. We're ready to go for the examination. Some are already in the preparation. Now, if you're preparing for the examination, speed up your process. Don't try to read it line by line. Nobody asks you to do proofread of the book. Understand the concepts and then try to take, there's a best chance you may catch up more faster in the learning process. If not, it's going to be a little tough. There is no end time, okay? If you read this book, you keep on reading. Every book will have new concepts. Every time you read it again, it will be something new to you. Lot of questions will come. You will ask me some questions. Somebody asked about, am I ready? Am I ready to jump? That is very important. So reach out to us. We'll try to give more tips so you can get closer to the examination. If anybody has not started the preparation, please let us know. We'll draft a plan for a preparation. The plan is very important. Whether you follow the plan literally or not, that's a different story. There should be a plan. How am I going to approach this examination? As the plan comes in, your track is set, you will run better. Right? Good. I know I beat it extra 15 minutes here, but still we all were patient to listen to the concept here. Thanks for spending up a time on the Saturday to listen to some subject. I know there are a lot, maybe we've covered some area only, but this is just a push to make you to get on track, right? So that's the purpose of conducting this program. It will be useful for the people. This program we're not conducting only for the people who learned with us. I know I have a lot of people, other institute people also come here. It's a place to kickstart something, right? That's very important. So start doing this from today. Start learning more, read more, move towards the career growth. It's not only PMP. What you learn, implement it. That makes more knowledgeable, right? Good. Thanks a lot for participating. Have a great Saturday. We'll catch up in another occasion. Thank you.